Tonight on Cape Media News, cyclists will soon be pedaling over Route 134 in Dennis. A bike bridge was put in place last night. Mother Nature carved a new path through Chatham's Barrier Beach. Cape Media News correspondent Andy Buckley reports on Fool's Channel. Cape Cod students summit for climate change and are urged to share their voices to reduce global impacts. Could housing that's affordable for young working professionals be in the future for Hyannis? One developer thinks his plan might be the one to re-energize Cape Cod's downtown. These stories and more tonight on Cape Media News. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Colvin. You are watching Cape Media News, the local, authentic television newscast for Cape Codders by Cape Codders. We begin with a story that broke early this morning. Former New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez was found dead in his jail cell. Hernandez was serving a life sentence at the Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center in Shirley, Massachusetts. Guards found him unresponsive at his cell just after 3 this morning. He was sentenced to life in prison in April 2015 for the 2012 killing of Odin Lloyd. Just 5 days ago, he was found not guilty of a double homicide that also happened back in 2012. Investigators say Hernandez hung himself with a bedsheet. He was 27 years old. 20,000 drug-related cases are being thrown out across Massachusetts, resulting from former state crime lab chemist Annie Dukin tampering with evidence. The misconduct of a single chemist was allowed to morph into a statewide crisis, according to a statement issued by the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office. 1,067 cases on Cape Cod will be dismissed. DA Michael O'Keefe says some of those cases are being dismissed because his office believes the integrity of our system of justice is more important than their convictions. Others will not be dismissed. O'Keefe says those cases can be proven independent of the actions of the chemist. The Cape Cod Rail Trail Bridge spanning Route 134 in Dennis is now in place. Crews lifted the structure overnight, now work to pave the new stretch of path and secure the bridge will begin. It's anticipated this new section of trail will be ready to use later this spring. Cape Media News has an update on the project.
We want to get people out of their cars. We want to put them in their bicycles.
This spring, you'll be able to hop on your bike in Yarmouth and ride all the way to Wellfleet on the Cape Cod Rail Trail. A bridge spanning Route 134 in Dennis will soon be installed.
This is the first of what I'd say of many extensions of the Cape Cod Rail Trail, from the terminus here in Dennis all the way to Peter Homer Park in Yarmouth. It is one of 3 sections right now, either currently under design or under construction. This section is under construction, soon to be completed for the 2017 season.
But that's not all. The vision is to extend the trail throughout the entire Cape.
We could be talking about a shared use path separate from the roadway that connects from Woods Hole up to Bourne and then Bourne to Provincetown. The next section of it from Yarmouth into Barnstable is currently under design. It is what they call a 25% design phase. So that's moving forward also. There is also a section in Sandwich from Route 130 coming east back towards Barnstable that is in the initial stages right now. A lot of credit to MassDOT. They're putting a lot of funding behind it. You know, this section right here, I believe we're talking about an $8 million section right here. Those other 2 projects I talked about combined are $14.5 million. That's all statewide money. That's all MassDOT stepping up and recognizing that Cape Cod is a place to bike. Key for these, again, we're talking about this separate bike path connecting what we call the spine. It's almost going right along Route 6, just like you see on Cape Cod. But we also want to connect to every downtown. You know, we really want to get away from these parking lots where people drive their cars and get on their bikes and then ride on the Cape Cod Rail Trail. We want to connect these rail trails right to downtown and right by neighborhoods so people can get right out of their house on their bicycle and ride wherever they want to go.
Coming up, Cape Media News correspondent Andy Buckley reports on impacts of the newest break in Chatham's Barrier Beach.
Every single one of us has someone, whether we know this or not, we have someone in our life who we love, who we admire, who we respect, who we know, who is a survivor of sexual violence or domestic violence. Every single one of us here in this room.
The reason I took the pledge is I'm a father of 3 daughters. I'm a chief probation officer in Barnstable. I think it's incredibly important that we, as men, realize our responsibilities, and taking the pledge is part of that.
So I take the pledge because guys play a very important part in changing the culture of domestic violence.
It's my responsibility as a man to look out for not only women, but children. And I am responsible for my brother's actions.
I took the pledge because, well, let me just say, first of all, I'm not a father, I'm not a grandfather, but I am an uncle. And I think as an uncle, I have a responsibility to my nephews to be able to show them a proper way of treating women, respecting women, and just overall being a figure, a model, role model, to be able to say, this is how you should treat women, and this is how you should be as a man.
To do my part to assist men in taking the pledge to end domestic violence.
I take the pledge because it's so important that all of us as men recognize that we have work to do. There's far too many incidents of violence, sexual violence, and other types of violence made against women. And we need to be doing more to talking to our young, especially our young boys, young men, and making sure that we're changing our culture to try to make sure that in the future this continues to decrease until it doesn't happen at all.
I take the pledge because violence against men or women is wrong. We need it to stop.
One of the purest forms of democracy is town meeting. It's an annual event that provides opportunity for you, the citizen taxpayer, to voice your opinion and to direct the course of government in your town. Town meeting has been practiced in New England since colonial times, and here on Cape Cod, annual town meeting season is underway. You can check our Cape Media News guide to town meeting. Just go to capemedia.org. We'll run through the list for you now. Harwich Town Meeting, Monday, May 1st, 7 o'clock at the Harwich Community Center. Dennis gathers on Tuesday, May 2nd at the Wixon Innovation School. That begins at 7. The town of Yarmouth holds their town meeting on a Saturday. That'll be Saturday, May 6th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Mattakees Middle School. And Chatham holds its Springtown meeting Monday, May 8th at 6 o'clock at Monomoy Middle School. And again, our Cape Media News guide to town meeting, including links to warrants and other important information, can be found online. Just head to capemedia.org. This Thursday night, U.S. Senator Edward Markey and Congressman William Keating will be on Cape Cod to discuss impacts the Trump administration could have on Massachusetts. A town hall-style meeting is set for 6 to 7:30 Thursday night at Nauset Regional Middle School in Orleans. Time now to turn our eyes to the coastline as Mother Nature makes her mark yet again on Chatham's Barrier Beach. Chatham resident Andrew Buckley reports.
I'm up to my knees in Atlantic Ocean.
Practically every morning for the past 12 months, I've been here at the Chatham Lighthouse to do a Facebook Live called Cape Cod Coffee Break. And the beautiful thing about the overlook is that the view of the harbor, the beach, and the Atlantic beyond is that it's always changing. Rain or shine, cold of winter or warm summer day, the view is never the same day to day. After a few northeast storms late this winter, the sentinels who keep an eye on the beach got what they were expecting on April 1st, when the narrow strip of sand between Lighthouse Beach and South Beach finally succumbed to the powerful pounding of the Atlantic. What had been dry land just 48 hours before went from washover to full-blown breach during the April Fool's Day northeaster. What had separated Chatham Harbor and the Atlantic Ocean from Outermost Harbor and Nantucket Sound via the Southway quickly deteriorated in a matter of hours. By the next morning, fisherman Randy Saul was the first to document passage through the break, charting low tide depths of 4 to 5 feet in the center of what's coming to be known as Fool's Channel.
It's something that we're obviously going to have to watch. When the 87 break happened, the beach systems all along this area took a beating. whether this will start that process again, or if this inlet starts to shut down and actually more sediment comes in, this area may ultimately build up.
Since 1987, when the ocean broke through North Beach directly in front of Chatham Lighthouse, Chatham Harbor and the barrier beach systems have been in a period of dynamic change. Although the beach breached further north in 2007, that channel has proved problematic. Meanwhile, the southern end of North Beach Island has continued to migrate south and west, choking the main channel for fishermen going to and from Chatham Fish Pier and the ocean. The new Fool's Channel connects the harbor channel on one end with the deep water of the old channel on the other, allowing Atlantic Ocean currents direct access to Nantucket Sound, bypassing miles of South Beach and Monomoy Island to the south. Fool's Channel could well accelerate the shoaling of the harbor channel by robbing the oceanic flow in and out of Pleasant Bay. In turn, this could then increase the flow of the North Break as the only outlet to the sea. Meanwhile, 75 fishermen dependent upon the Chatham Fish Pier on this harbor are being forced to look at alternative mooring space in Stage Harbor in Chatham and Saquatucket Harbor in Harwich. On the other hand, recreational boaters and small boat fishermen on the south side of town now have easy access to the ocean that used to require a trip around the end of Monomoy. Outermost Harbor, which had been in danger of shoaling up entirely, is now looking at the fastest and best access to the ocean, for the moment.
Interestingly, as we're seeing now at high water or near high water, there's a lot more water in here, and that's because we have now a very good, efficient connection with the open ocean.
And although the flushing of the Southway could be a boon to the town's commercial shell fishermen in the long term, the sudden influx of sand could be a problem right now.
There's already been some impacts since the break. Right on the adjacent side of the break, that was fairly viable shellfish habitat that's not existent anymore. But I'm seeing, especially with this high tide and some of this wave activity, that it could impact the other areas that were fairly well set with soft shell clams and quahogs. It's a wait and see, but it doesn't look good for this particular area. Usually when something like this happens, shellfish will establish themselves somewhere else. So it'll take a little time, and when things equalize a little bit, there'll be other places that set up. And that's been the dynamic nature of Chatham, and why we've been fairly successful with our wild shell fisheries, is that when you lose one area, it usually comes back in another area.
Looking back over the past 30 years of breaks, shoaling, and beach creation, it's clear this is just part of the natural process here, with winners and losers. And looking further back, this 1891 chart hints at what the new Chatham Inlet might look like. Whatever the outcome, it's going to be a dramatic change.
Up next, we'll find out what the future could hold for old sea captains' homes along Pleasant Street in Hyannis.
Our lives changed back on January 11th, 2011, when Chloe was told that she had infant leukemia. At that time, she was given less than a 20% chance of making it from January to February. Because of Dana-Farber, their research, and the money raised at events like this, she's still here today, and she's riding today. She gets a little shy when it's her turn to say hi. But 8 rounds of chemotherapy later, a week of radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, and she's still here to see her 5th and her 6th birthday this September. So I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you, for every dollar that's raised, especially through the PanMass Challenge, goes directly to the kids, the cancer research, and the families that it's affected. And I can tell you how much it's appreciated from the bottom of our hearts.
Hello, my name is Bill Goldsmith, and I'm the coordinator for the Cranberry Country PMC Kids Ride. Our 3rd annual ride will take place at Oak Point in Middleborough on Sunday, June 4th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Last year, we had 146 kids ride, and we raised $24,000 for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. 100% of all rider-raised donations goes to the Dana-Farber for cancer research, patient care, and family support services. After the ride, we'll have a pizza party with lots of fun activities for the riders and their families. For more information, please visit the website at the bottom of your screen. Please tell your family and friends, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
It's safe to say that housing is one of the #1 issues on Cape Cod right now, with young professionals struggling to find secure, affordable year-round homes. One developer has a plan that could be a game changer for young people on Cape Cod. Cape Media News reports. Once the homes of sea captains working out of nearby Hyannis Harbor, these homes along Pleasant Street have fallen into disrepair. Developer Robert Brennan has purchased the property and has a vision to transform the area into a place for young working professionals to live, to work, and to play. He's got a plan for a townhouse-style development, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments designed for young working professionals. Last Tuesday night, Brennan and his architectural team met with members of the Cape Cod Young Professionals as part of the design process.
And you folks that are in the room today, you are the economic engine of the Cape. And so in developing and redeveloping Pleasant Street into a new Sea Captain's Row, we really see that we're doing this for you who are in the room and others who are the sea captains of today's Hyannis.
These kinds of events for any project, we're a community design firm, and you can't design communities and meaningful communities in any neighborhood, in any place, without spending the time with the people that are ultimately going to live there and understand what they really want out of the places that we're creating. And so for us, this kind of outreach is absolutely critical for doing this kind of work.
And you hear that the lack of housing and the lack of sense of community, for young adults in the Cape is one reason the Cape loses so many, young adults. But what's possible is only going to become a reality if, other people buy into it, and if we're actually meeting the needs, and if we're actually bringing a product to market that is designed to the tastes and preferences and needs and concerns of the folks that we believe are should be the market.
It's great to see that somebody is developing an area and adding 60+ units for families or for students or for young professionals. And it was great to have 30 minutes of exercise, let's call it, or 30 minutes of time together to brainstorm and give our feedback, give our ideas. So I think it's great that they will take this into consideration in their planning.
We learned a lot. I think number one, we learned that folks have, put a lot of thought, into this, and I'm sure these are coming from conversations and gripe sessions and what ifs and fantasizing and lobbying people to take on these kind of projects. So very, very thoughtful comments across the board, and everything from sizing of rooms, smaller kitchens versus larger kitchens, and what kind of interior features. We want this to be an anchor neighborhood for a vibrant, thriving, Main Street and downtown. And it really needs to be folks' home, and roots have to be put down, and having folks think, who live there, think about the stores as their neighborhood stores and the restaurants as their neighborhood restaurants, and be kind of that place, kind of like Cheers, where everyone knows your name. We want this to be, folks that are occupying these units 12 months out of the year, and really forming the core of what will be a growing neighborhood.
Brennan and his team met this week with the Greater Hyannis Civic Association. The next step in transforming this property is to submit the plans to the town of Barnstable for approval. And again, last night, Brennan presented plans to the Greater Hyannis Civic Association. Cape Media News will be following the story through the permitting process. Climate change advocates had a captive audience of students last week at Cape Cod Academy. The first student summit on climate change was held at the private school's Osterville campus. What is climate change? How does it impact our lives? And what can we do to mitigate it? Young people had a chance to learn facts and question leaders during that summit held at Cape Cod Academy last Tuesday.
Well, I think it's inspiring, both to our guests and to the kids, to see that there are like-minded, not only other students, but adults saying, hey, we've learned about this. We think this is important. How do I get involved to advocate for other people understanding it? How do I get involved to be active and maybe make change? That's pretty inspiring.
Students met in small groups to discuss issues and formulate questions that they then asked to a panel of experts, which included members of the Cape Cod Commission, Cape Light Compact, and the Cape Legislative Delegation.
So much of education is about just core skills, basic mastery of content that you need to move forward in life. And what a day like today does is show kids how they put that together to do meaningful work in the world to make a difference.
Students were urged to take a part in helping to mitigate climate change. The Cape May Field Guide will land at local businesses this May. We got a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to put this guide together.
Today we are laying out the third issue of the Cape May Field Guide, which is Love Live Local's annual guide to having an authentic experience on Cape Cod. So we consider it the truly locals perspective, kind of going up and down the Cape and experiencing local businesses and trying local food products. We truly believe that Cape Codders can explore our home as much as visitors can explore our home.
Every business that is highlighted in Cape May Field Guide has to be a Cape Cod owned business, but to be listed, you have to either be a maker or a producer or grower on the Cape, or you can also be included with a listing if you are a store or a market who consistently supports those makers and growers.
Economically speaking, the money that is spent at a locally owned store, more of it stays in our community than if you spend money at a national chain or if you shop online.
People really do carry it around for the year, locals, visitors. People leave it in their rentals and give it to the guests, and they swear by it. It becomes kind of like a local resource Bible, so we're able to kind of create it knowing that it really is used in that way, and how can it be the most effective, with that use, and be able to tell all of our insider tips.
Well, that's it for this inaugural edition of Cape Media News. We thank you so much for joining us. We are here on Channel 99 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. You can stay up to date with us online at capemedia.org. Send your comments, questions, ideas, and news tips to us via email at news@capemedia.org. With Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin.